Hey everybody, I'm Nick. I'm a math educator with over 20 years of in-class math teaching experience, an IT professional, and I make videos on this channel at First Coast Math Clinic with the goal of helping you increase your understanding and enjoyment in mathematics. And if you have difficulty solving and checking the equations you see on the screen right now, stick around because in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve and check one-step equations. Let's get into it. So our first example is x plus 7 equals 14, and our goal is to find the value of the variable. And our variable in this case is x. That's our unknown, right? So how are we going to do that? Well, our steps first step is we want to isolate the variable using inverse operations, right? Well, what does that mean? What does inverse operations mean, right? Well, inverse operations are basically just operations that undo each other. So think like addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, or when we're going to get into a little bit later, we're not going to deal with this too much right now. We are going to deal with it later on, but exponents and square roots. So we want to figure out, well, what operation is happening right here between the x and the 7, and we want to use the inverse operation of that, the operation that undoes that operation, okay? And I know this is called one-step equations, but we do actually have another step that we're going to put in here. All right, we add all of our equations to make sure if our answer is correct, and that's going to be our check. So one-step equations, but we do have a last step, a second step, which is check. So we're going to add that to all of our equations, all of the equations that we do. So let's start solving this. We want to isolate the variable using inverse operations. Well, what's happening on this left side, right? I want to get that x by itself. What's happening between the x and the 7? It's being added. So what's the inverse of addition? The inverse of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 7. And whatever I do to the left side of the equation, I have to do to the right side. So minus 7 minus 7. 7 minus 7 is going to be 0. So I can just cancel these 7s out on the left. I have x equals, and then 14 minus 7 is going to give me an answer of x equals 7. So that's our steps to solve our one-step equation. Now we do have our step 2, our last step, which we're going to add to all of our equations, which is a step to check. So for our check, we're going to take our original equation and our solution, and we're going to substitute that answer back into our original equation. So I'm going to have 7 plus 7 equals 14. Now I'm going to simplify this left side. 7 plus 7 is 14, and I get 14 equals 14. I know my answer is correct if the left side and the right side are equal, which they are. So my answer checks. So I'm done, and I get x equals 7 as an answer. Okay, let's go on and do a couple more examples using our step to solve our one-step equations, and then add our check at the end. All right. Okay, number 2 is negative 3 times y equals 18. I want to get the y by itself. So we're multiplying here. How do we undo multiplication? Let's divide. So I'm going to divide by my coefficient, the negative 3. And the negative 3, division undoes multiplication. That's our inverse operations. So negative 3 divided by negative 3. Well, we're just going to get 1 and 1 here. So let's think about what's happening, right? I'm multiplying by 1 and dividing by 1. If I multiply by 1 or divide by 1, is that going to change anything? No. So I don't need to put the 1s in. I could just put y equals. Now I've got 18 divided by -3. I'm dividing two numbers of opposite signs. When I divide two numbers of opposite signs, the sign of the answer is going to be negative. If you want to review operations, multiplying and dividing integers, I have another video on that. You can check out the link for the video for that. That's coming up right now. And we're going to get -6 as our answer. And our check. Let's take that -6, put it in for y. And we'll have -3 times -6 equals 18. And again, now we're multiplying two numbers out of the same sign. When we multiply two numbers out of the same sign, the sign of the answer is going to be positive. So we get 18 equals 18. Since the left side and the right side are the same, our answer checks. And we get y equals -6. For number 12, or number 3, excuse me, we get 12 equals y over 5. We're dividing y by 5. How do we undo division? To undo division, or any fraction we have is division. Let's multiply. So I'm going to multiply by 5 and multiply by 5 on the left and the right side. Now this is an important property for number 3 that we see right here. All right, let's think about what's happening here. So I'm going to do the math out just to make sure you guys understand what's happening here. I'm going to put that 5 over 1 to make it a fraction. And now when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And I'm going to multiply this side as well. So we're going to get 60 equals y times 5 is 5y, and 5 times 1 is 5. All right, well, what can we do here? We still want to get that y by itself. Well, I've got 5 over 5. This operation, this is division on this right side. So 5 divided by 5 is 1 and 1, right? Same thing that I got here. Dividing a number by itself, I just get 1 over 1. If I multiply or divide by 1, do I need the 1 there? No. So I could just write y equals 60 as my answer. Now let's check. So I'll get 12 equals 60 over 5. And 60 divided by 5 is 12. The left side and the right side are equal. So our answer checks, and y equals 60. All right, let's do a couple more examples. In number 4, we've got 2/3 x equals 8. So we're multiplying x by 2 over 3. Sometimes people have difficulty, doing this operation, solving an equation where we got fractions. Let's go through how we're going to do this. We're still multiplying x times 2 over 3. So to undo that multiplication, we could divide by 2/3 and divide by 2/3. And I'm actually going to show you two different ways to do this. So 2/3 divided by 2/3, right? That's just 1 and 1. So do we need to put the 1 in, multiply by 1, divide by 1? No. So we're going to have x equals. Now we can write this. This is 8 divided by 2 over 3. So 8, I'll put right 8 over 1 divided by 2 over 3. And now, how do we divide fractions? We change division to multiplication. I have another video on multiplying and dividing fractions. A link for that's coming up right now, so you can check out that if you want to review it all. So to divide fractions, we want to take the reciprocal. So we're going to keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, take the reciprocal of the 2/3 to 3 over 2, and then multiply straight across and straight across. And we're going to get 24 over 2, and 24 divided by 2 gives us an answer of 12. So our value for x here is 12. Now, I'm going to show you a different way to do this. So let me do this. Squeeze it in down here. So 2/3 x equals 8. Instead of dividing by 2/3, another thing I could do, we know we're taking the reciprocal at this point. So I can jump right to this step if I want, and instead of dividing by 2/3, dividing by 2/3, I could just start by multiplying by the reciprocal, because if I'm multiplying by 2/3, I've got 3 in the denominator. I'm dividing by 3 the denominator, so I can start by multiplying by the numerator and multiplying by the denominator and dividing by the numerator. So I can multiply by 3/2, that reciprocal. Now here, 3 times 2, 2 times 3 gives me 6/6x, which just cancels out to 1 and 1. And then this 8 times 3, 1 times 2 gives me 24/2, which is the same thing, 12, right? So it's a bit of a shorter way that we could do this. We can just basically multiply by the reciprocal on each side as a shorter method of solving this equation. In our check, so let's put that 12 back in for x here. So we're going to have 2/3 times 12 equals 8. Put the 12/1. And now I'm going to multiply straight across. 2 times 12 is 24/3. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I get 8 equals 8. So the left side and the right side check. So our answer 12 is correct. All right. All right, let's do one more example. Number 5, I've got -9 plus y equals 16. So we want to get the y by itself. Let's what's happening with that 9, this value on the left side? Well, it's -9 plus y, but what's the sign on the 9? The 9 is negative, so it's actually being subtracted from that left side. So to undo subtracting, we need to add the 9 and add the 9. Remember, we read our equations left to right. So I want to look at the left side of this value for its sign. The left side has a minus sign. It's -9, so we're going to add to both sides. -9 plus 9 is 0, so I'm left with y equals, and then 16 plus 9 is 25. Let's do our check. So we can take the 25, put it in for y, of -9 plus 25 equals 16, and -9 plus 25 gives us 16 equals 16, and our answer checks on the left and the right. Okay? So this video is on solving and checking one-step equations. Hope this video helped you guys understand this concept a little bit more. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is Nick from First Coast Math Clinic.